Oh, good evening and welcome to Wednesday Night Live at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills. Tonight, Reverend Kathy and myself are going to facilitate a discussion between the two of us, and because it's just the two of us. And our sound person, Reverend Mike. And
Reverend Mike.
yeah. Okay. The sound guy, Mike Garland, not Reverend Mike. And thank you all for joining us. So as we welcome you to this opportunity to discuss the spiritual concepts of science of mind, and to join us, we always start our services with the process of lighting the flames of faith, and it's a call to service as we honor each and every spiritual concept in every spiritual pathway. So as we welcome you, we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all people and all beings, and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. And as Reverend Kathy lights the first candle, is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. And we light the second candle for the shamanic tradition, honoring the beliefs and practice of all indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. And we light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light the 10th candle for those who are as yet unaware of spirit in their lives and for the space we are holding for them here at the center and in our hearts. And as Reverend Kathy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flames of God's eternal love.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender. I trust in God.
And so indeed, I am so grateful to be here tonight for the lively Science of Mind discussion. And as I speak my word in the first person for each one here and online, I recognize this presence of God, which is health, love, wealth, creativity, and the law of giving and receiving. And I am one with God, one with its love, health, wealth, creativity, and the law of giving and receiving. And as I speak my word, knowing right now that this meeting, this discussion is a perfect idea in the mind of God, where I learn and embody the principle of receiving. And from studying this, I embody it from the head to the heart, and knowing right now that I am now receiving whatever it is I desire to create in my life, whether it's robust health, abundant wealth, wonderful friendships and relationships, creative expression, whatever it is, I now am open and receptive to receive. And I give thanks for this wonderful discussion tonight. I give thanks for embodying that law of receiving right here and right now. So with gratitude, I release these words to the law. It is done, it is so. And together we say, and so it is. Hello again, I'm Kathy Lyons, one of the staff ministers here at the Granada Hills Center for Spiritual Living, specializing in animal kinship. I have a few announcements before we go on to the discussion. Practitioners are available every Sunday after the service in our prayer treatment room, which is near the front door. If you'd like to speak with a licensed practitioner, you can also go online and contact them through cslgh.org. Our weekly newsletter drops every Wednesday afternoon from a secured site. We want to invite you to stay connected with everything happening at our church community. If you haven't yet, subscribe to our mailing list by emailing admin@cslgh.org. CSLGH is excited to announce the return of Sangha. The new 6-week session will start Wednesday, June 10th from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m., facilitated by practitioner Catherine Hack. Pema Chodron's book, Start Where You Are, is featured reading. The class fee is $90. Let us save a seat for you. Sign up in Sparks Hall or email admin@cslgh.org. Next Wednesday, June 10th, 7 p.m., we have the Get Real and Heal meditation will take place facilitated by practitioner Vinu Aglo. Come enjoy a peaceful midweek reset. Donations are accepted at the door. Please save the date for Wednesday, June 17th at 7 p.m. We will hold a special evening commemorating the historical Freedom Day, Juneteenth. Celebrate us through prayer, poetry, reflection, and song. Thank you, and now let's start the discussion.
This evening, we want to talk about, our discussion actually is coming from this book by Ernest Holmes, Living the Science of Mind. And one of the reasons why it's such a good book, it talks about us actually putting the science of mind, these concepts and the principles into practice. Mike, could you have a mic for her?
Oh, yeah. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, we wait. She's going to read now.
Oh, okay. It's starting now.
Okay. So we always like to immerse ourselves in the idea that we are living this philosophy. So this discussion is kind of each one sharing, knowing that the individuality of each person is a unique way to live the principle itself. So it is usually very helpful for us to hear how each one is practicing these principles. So we invite anyone to join us in this discussion. So we invite you to come out and share how it's working in your life, and or see how it's working in other people's lives. It might increase your faith or broaden it in perspective, because we in an infinite process, so there's always more. There's always more to learn, more to understand, and a broader perspective of this philosophy itself. So I'm going to start reading, and then I'll pass it to Bunny, and then you come back. So tonight, the topic that I chose was page 348 from this book, and it's receiving is as important as giving. We need never beseech the law to operate for us, for if there is the one mind in the universe, our mind is some part of it, and it is its nature to respond to itself. Nothing can hinder the divine from flowing into us except our own free will.
The sun may be shining even while we persist in standing in a dark basement. The manna might be falling, but we refuse to gather it. Now we must come out of our basement of despair into the sunshine of truth, into the warmth and color of divine recognition, the instantaneous awareness of the allness of God, allness of good.
Okay. God is life, and life gives itself to us. It does not give some of itself, it gives all of itself. But the gift without a receiver of the receiver cannot complete itself in individual life. Emerson tells us that we are compelled to perceive that we are beneficiaries, and we stand in the light, and the light in all is all. Then he tells us to get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuit.
This getting out of our own way is what mental treatment does for us, since it declares that there is nothing in us which can keep our good away. Treatment always declares the presence of good and the operation of the law of love. It is conscious, active recognition of spiritual presence, spiritual force, spiritual law, and spiritual order.
Now, this topic is an interesting one, because I think that in a society that we are experiencing right now, this idea of financial is such a broad influence in our society, to the point that that is the thing that people think about when they think about the receiving and giving. And to me, the first paragraph really says it. It says, nothing can hinder the divine from flowing into us except our own free will. And the thing that really comes into mind when I hear this is the idea of having love in our life, having joy in our life, having harmony and peace. Those components or qualities, to me, are the foundational things of life that comes to mind when I think about giving and receiving. Much more so than just the solid ones. It seems like if we have this consciousness, that which is expected to get through financial means is a part of that experience. So the foundation one is with relationships, finances, health, and so to me, these qualities are the ones that I think of when I think of the giving and receiving, more so than just the finances. But I think of all of those qualities, and they are impactful for me.
I agree with Reverend Nancy because the idea of like the financial aspect of prosperity or demonstrating stuff and things, that's fine. But to me, it's just a slice of the whole, it's not the slice of the whole pie. Having relationships, having meaningful friendships, feeling peaceful, having a job or activities that I love, all of those things to me incorporate all of life, and just getting the stuff and things is just part of it. It's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, why just limit, like when I first got into this teaching, that part of it, I was going through a career change and things like that. So that was attractive to me about, you know, that I can open myself up for more, but all the good of life, that's just part of it. And it's very limiting if I just think, oh, I want to pray and treat for a new car, or I want a new home, or whatever. I think it's being intrinsically fulfilled. I think that's the crux of this teaching. And the stuff and things are in the realm of the effects.
But you want to answer, see how you feel about that. Share with us.
I think it is crucial that we're willing to receive and that we're open and believe that we're worthy of receiving. And for me, my life story, my history has a cultural, and as it said in Science of Mind, a race consciousness of, no, you're not worthy to receive, and you are not working hard enough. I was actually told when I was a kid and a young adult, that stuff's for other people, not us. And as we come into this philosophy and practice it, for me, I've had to really look at what were the messages that went into me that I listened to and I came to believe. And as I've been in Science of Mind, it has been stunning to recognize those thoughts, those beliefs that I had, and say, no, I can have this stuff. Why not? Why not? There's also a component in this of, like, I am at fault that I don't receive. It really has to do with worthiness. The other thing with stuff and things and money, I think that there is a real race consciousness about money. It's the most important thing. You know, that thing that we ask, you know, when you meet somebody, well, what do you do? No one says, I read great novels every evening and I love it. What do you do means, how do you make money? I think our race consciousness is just bloated with the consciousness of money and what's happening with that. And money is, you know, I did that spiritual economics class, and money is something powerful, you know, and it's how we exchange things. And how can I see it as something spiritual and something that flows around receiving is really important because that's part of the flow.
Mike, you want to contribute to that?
Not at the moment, but I agree that receiving is as important as giving, and I think I've learned that through the years of being here at the center and the classes and everything. I mean, it wasn't always what I thought, but it's changed the way that I think now.
I also want to state too, have any of you ever had people where they say, oh no, don't do anything for me, you know, you'd offer to buy, oh no, don't do that. And that can be just as annoying as somebody that's just a taker. I mean, I've known people like that, where, and I had relatives, and it seemed like, who grew up during the Depression, who are very much, oh, don't go to any trouble, another thing too I remember hearing when I was young was like, oh, I don't want to impose on you if they invited somewhere, things like that with receiving. And I mean, of course, you don't have to always accept every invitation, but it would be put, oh, well, I don't want to bother you and all that. And to me, that's kind of insulting to somebody, like saying, well, if somebody says that to me, I think, gee, do they think I'm too stupid that I can't know when to invite somebody or when to offer to pay for something? I mean, trust me that I'm not going to go destitute or I'm not going to be put out. So it's got to be a flow, you know, the law of circulation. When I pay my bills, I often say the law of circulation is in my life right now.
I think that one of the things that comes up when I think about receiving is what Bunny was saying. I think more significant for me in my life is that worthiness. The worthiness, I think from every angle has come at me. And I don't know exactly where it started or what point in my family or what, but that self-worthiness, being worthy of the good is what I would say has been more of a challenge to me of shifting is, and I didn't even realize that I even felt that way until as Mike said, I got in this teaching and realized that that was one of those factors that I could shift my consciousness, my understanding of, that I am worthy because of who and what I am. And I think that I was in it, being influenced by society because you had to earn it and you had to be a certain way or you had to do a certain thing. And I found myself, I think my early years, trying to get to that point where I could feel like I was worthy of a certain thing. And one of the things that is really significant to me is in this teaching is that the understanding that being who I am, the spiritual presence of life and expression, that worthiness is not something that I have to earn. I automatically am worthy. That's easy said, but getting past that point of the imprints of society that tells that I feel that, and so sometimes I found myself, it's the being female, being black, being overweight. I mean, all these things I found myself thinking I had to shift something in me in order to be worthy of receiving. And I think that that is the consciousness that I find myself being challenged with more than anything.
Well, all of us are worthy of anything. It's just we need to accept it. It's not like there's some God out there saying, "Oh, well, you can only." I'll throw a few crumbs at Mike, but lavish Reverend Nancy with everything. It has to do with what our ability to receive. And this came to my mind, and I know I've mentioned it many times before. When Mr. Orange lived out there, I don't think he had to sit there and try to convince himself he was worthy of receiving. He seemed to just innately know that. So, you know, if he had any cognitive ability, he'd probably think, what are those stupid people talking about this? Don't they know that? You know, I don't have nobody has to tell me that. Look at all that I receive.
I remember when I was a child, our family would meet up with this other family, friends of my parents, and if we went out to dinner, I remember they seemed like they had a little bit more money than we did, a little like they were upper middle class, and they a lot of times they'd offer at the end of the night to pay the bill, and my mom would say, "You're not going to do that. Get that away from here," and there'd almost be a fight between them. And for me, I say for myself, I say, "Oh, you don't have to do that." And then if they insist, then I'm open to it. Yeah.
Then accept it.
Yeah, and don't make such a big deal over it.
Because then if I offer to pay for somebody and they start saying, "Oh, no, you don't have to do that," it's almost like they're implying that, well, gee, maybe I'm not handling my money wisely. I know that maybe they don't mean that, but it sounds like that. Sometimes what I'll do if somebody offers to pay, I'll say, well, next time, you know, I pay. I think it's nice to reciprocate. I had this uncle who was married to my mother's sister, and after my aunt died, sometimes my mom would go to lunch with him, and then he would open up his wallet and say, "Oh, I forgot my money and my credit card." And that man, I think I've told you about this, he passed away. He had $1.5 million worth of assets. He was so cheap. I mean, that's not good either. It's about the flow of giving and receiving.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. Yeah, he hoarded his money. And
Well, I still think that in today's society, this receiving concept is associated with, at least from my background and my experience, it's associated with your image of how, as you was talking about how people receive it. But personally, I feel that what has shifted so much that in this society is the association of receiving. It is almost like it has to be a physical expression, and it's gotten away from the qualities of life that's behind it, like the caring, the compassion, the loving, and the idea of joy, and those qualities to me seem to be more significant than the financial. But the physicality of life is dominating to me in my experience around it. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I don't hear people talk very much about receiving and giving the love and the compassion. And when I look at society today, to me, those are the components that are in great need right now. Being compassionate, being caring, lifting another person up, joy. And I think that those qualities really dominate.
And those qualities are priceless.
Yes.
I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't put a
Yeah.
dollar figure on them.
And it's almost like if you look around, the people with the financing, are they happy, or are they still trying to figure out? If they figure out sometimes they're going to get more, and if they get more money, then they'd be all right. Or if they get more of this. But in actuality, it is the underlying sense of being that seems to be the significant thing to bring forth. I don't know. I understand the giving and receiving that we teach. Most of it is to do with the physicalities of life. But but I think that the components under that is to what we are looking at, shifting and thinking. And if I feel like I'm experiencing the joy, the peace, and the harmony, and that I'm feeling good, somehow those things that I need show up.
Right.
When I am in that consciousness of peace, I get more peace. When I'm in joy, I get more joy. And so the things that I seem to have that I want, should not to have, but the things that I want usually show up when I'm all right, feeling good about myself and feeling like I am worthy of the reception. They just show up. And I'm saying this because it seems like as I shift my consciousness, the world shifts what I'm experiencing. And all of that seems to come with it. And if you look at what he's saying here, that's basically what Emerson is talking about. If you look at that third paragraph where he says, God is life, life gives itself to us. It does not give some of itself, it gives all of itself. But the gift without a receiver cannot complete itself in the individual life. In other words, if we aren't ready to be at peace, we aren't ready to be in joy, and that you can have all the money in the world, that it's not going to give you the answer that we are looking for.
I'd also like to comment on that too. Has anybody ever, they wanted something really bad in the material realm? Oh, if I just get that, everything's going to be great. And then once, like I've had experiences, once I got that, I still didn't have the inner peace. It was like I was reaching out for something to fulfill me outside of myself. I've had that experience a few times. It's like I didn't feel, still didn't bring me happiness.
Mm-hmm. Look at this sentence and tell me what y'all think. Then he tells us to get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuit. Now, that's a kind of famous quote from Emerson. Yeah. And I know most people have read it or heard of it at one time. How do you feel about that? What do you think when you hear that statement?
I would call the bloated nothingness, well, I wouldn't say like it's demeaning being in human form, if that's what they're talking about, but I would say it's getting your nothingness, or like devaluing or thinking that you have no value, any of that, but I would say it's getting your own ego out of the way, or your doubts out of the way. So the divine circuit, yeah. So the divine circuit being the power, the good that comes from God through, or from the law, to yourself can come. So you're open to it, open to receiving, just like it says. Yeah, yeah.
I agree with the bloated ego that we just walk into so unconsciously. This is really interesting to contemplate. I think for me, the biggest thing that I have received is that I'm here. And it's so amazing that I've gotten to this point where I see myself as a conscious being. That bloated ego blocks that, at times. And many years ago, I was on a retreat, and the book that we read talked about being grateful and accepting the gift of being able to do what we're doing now. To have, and they called it means, opportunity, and leisure. To be able to pray, do treatment, meditate, and to get to a point to not be behind a pile of bloated ego. And when I am, I kind of know it. That consciousness of, you are way off kilter here. What are you thinking? It's such an amazing gift. And I don't know how it happened. I really don't know how. I should not be what I am. When I think back how I saw everything and what I was worthy, how I didn't think I was worthy, it's pretty amazing what has happened. And I think it's grace. It just happened. It was grace, and then willingness. I'll listen to that. I'll listen to that. And for me, I went to a 12-step program, and it was a wonderful entree to thinking like this, how we do in Science of Mind. I'm creating this as I go. This is me doing this. It's not a bunch of people out there. And it was wonderful, tiny little baby ways of doing it that was easy to swallow. And I just can't believe what's happened for me, and I'm so grateful. I'm so really grateful.
I really appreciate what you said.
I wanted to ask about the first line, the very at the top there. You need never beseech the law. And I looked that word up before we started, and it said to ask for something emotionally. Yeah, or begging, yeah.
It's like, oh, please, God, please give that to me, and I promise if I do that, I'll never ask for anything again. It's like that begging,
so
like you've got to beg for something out there.
So you don't have to be dramatic about it.
Yeah, you don't have to do it, yeah. Didn't you ever do that when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, that's how we...
I won't get in any more trouble ever again.
Reverend Mike would say that a lot about, what's that, bargaining or something like that.
Bargaining with it.
God, if you just get me out of this thing, then I will never do X, Y, or Z or again.
Yeah. I think that the significant things for me that is that the law operates according to our consciousness. It's not like it's going to give us anything or deliver anything to us. What we're getting is the result of our thinking. We are the creators. We are, avenue through which create the experience that we are going through or we are experiencing. We are the authors. It's like everything is available according to what we think and believe and embody. And that is the foundation of how things unfold and take place. And knowing that is that what sets us free. And beseeching out whatever it is we're reaching out from outside and not realizing that we are creating the experience that we have. The law cannot say no to the consciousness that we place into it. It only produces what's the result of the consciousness that we place into it. And it will go, it will always deliver, never less than the consciousness. Expanded more than we can consciously think of if we can bring, but not less. And it doesn't ever say no. It's constant respond. It's the law, and it must respond.
I also think what is important is that idea of treat and move your feet.
Yep.
If we want something to happen, we have the consciousness and the enthusiasm to do all of the actions that will bring that to us. I don't even know where I heard this. It was about if you want to be an attorney, you're going to have to fill out the application and go to law school too.
Right.
That we move our feet along with the consciousness and have actual physical actions and habits that make things manifest.
I think that I agree with that, and I've been told that all the time that I've been in it. But I'm beginning to learn something. If you truly have the consciousness, you don't have to worry about your feet moving. You will be put in such a place that is automatically what will unfold. Yeah. And that's the level of faith. And I think that sometimes, and what I've learned is doing, sometimes when I get in the way of allowing Spirit to deliver it to me. It just seems like amazing. It's almost like when I remember Abraham making a list of what you want to happen, and you put on that list and say, it turned up for the universe. And I've been doing that. I am not kidding you, buddy. It seems like, to me, I be telling myself, I got to make sure I do this, and I got to make sure I do that. But, well, that making sure is getting my ego up. My ego jumps up and makes sure, and that's when it gets blocked instead of it flowing with ease and grace. Mm-hmm. And for example, I had, I don't remember what class, one class it was in, I wanted to go, I was going on this trip with my nieces and nephews, and I wanted to be able to walk around with them. So I decided, me and my friend that was going with me, and we were going to walk. And I said, well, we can walk. And I said, okay, I got to make myself walk. And I said, no. And she said, well, you just come out here and walk with me. So I said, okay. And I said, what I had put down was that I was going to do a 20-minute mile. And when I was out there, and I was saying, oh, God, I got to push myself. I got to push myself. And it just seemed like I'm doing. And then I said, well, whatever I do is all right. I'll just leave it. I just walk as much as I can. Now, it seems like as soon as I said that, the walking got easier, and I didn't make myself go all the way around, like I said. And then one day we were just laughing and talking. We met people that we had been seeing on this trail every day, and I released it. And when we got through, she was saying, oh, look at the number of steps we did. And when I figured out the number of steps, I was doing a 20-minute mile. And sometimes that move your feet becomes an ego's choice instead of allowing the Spirit. It seems like if I can just relax, something shows up that I find myself doing it. And I was going to clean up my office and stuff, and I said, "Oh God, now you got to get in here and do it." And it just seemed like it was taking me forever. And then the next day, a friend of mine that usually comes and put my papers together called, and I said, "You got a free day? You can come." And she came, and in 2 hours, she did what would take me 2 days. And everything was ordered. I said, "Wow, that worked out fine." So sometimes that move your feet concept is getting the heart together and the mind. And if you stay in the good flow of consciousness, the steps will be taken. You will find yourself making the steps without any effort. You don't have to push yourself to make sure you're doing it. To me, is when we get as that bloated nothingness. That bloated nothing is us saying, "I'm going to do this, I'm doing this." Yeah, I'm taking the steps. And sometimes I have found that if I get up and say, "Oh, I'm going to leisurely do this," before I know it, something happens and things unfold with ease and grace.
I think what happens is intuitively we'll know exactly what we need to do. If somebody wants to be a lawyer and they really embody that desire, it's like they'll be guided to the right law school, the right steps, meeting with the right people. It doesn't mean you just sit in your house and do nothing. It's just, I give an example. Many years ago, Edwene Gaines, I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she came to the Glendale Church and did this workshop, but she left a pamphlet, this thing, How to Create Your Holy Relationship, and it was a list of qualities you want in a partner and different affirmations. And this was before online dating, but even then there were personal ads and things like that. Several people did meet people, and none of them was through personal ads or things like that. They met them. It was like they intuitively knew where to go and what to do. And I tell that to people sometimes because if somebody says to me they want a relationship and they'll say, "Oh, I've got to put up a profile and this and this and this." And when I've told them about this other way, it's like they're kind of surprised because now people with relationships, they got locked into that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's good, but be open that it can come through different channels where you intuitively know what to do, where to be to meet the right person.
And I think it's really important to know that there's an infinite number of ways for things to happen.
Right, that's what people, people get, like that's what Ernest Holmes talks about, outlining. It's got to be, same thing with, looking, when I was 25 years ago, when I was looking for a job, I did different ways, because I remember knowing somebody who had said, "Well, you've got to know if you're interested in a company, you got to know somebody who works there." And it's like, no, it's like it could come, it might come through finding out through word of mouth. It might come through posting, going to an agency, these different ways. And you have to be open and receptive, not, it's got to come through this way. There's many avenues and channels to our good.
I can get really caught up in what I think it should be to get things done.
Yes.
And it's interesting. That is some bloated nothing idea that I have. After I was in Science of Mind for 3 years, we needed people to come into our business. We could not do it ourselves. We were just sinking. And I had an idea how that happened. I just had this vision of it. While I'm working with my little vision over here, over someplace else, things were unfolding that I had nothing to do with.
Right.
They're unfolding and happening, and I'm squirming about my idea. It was hilarious when I looked over at the other thing that was going on, and I did not have to put effort into that other thing that was happening for the help to come.
Mm-hmm.
But I can get really stubborn,
Yeah.
blinded
Ernest,
by what I
once-
think.
We know that something's coming through, but we don't have to know how it comes through.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody else, I have found that aligning myself with spirit, knowing that the avenue through which things are coming is through spirit, has shown up for me as being very, very important, in the sense that not paying attention to that and trying to get in a certain way in a certain place, I have found that the things that I don't want to happen faster.
Yep.
If I start thinking of them, because I'm saying that spirit is doing this stuff, being harmonious and peaceful and loving, and I understand where as Abraham says, being looking for the good. I see why it's so important, because those things I'm whining about come fast too. And sometimes they come faster than I want them to be coming. I be thinking of them lightly. And I even noticed that, I'm beginning to notice that what I read and what I look at on television, how much of that type of thing affects my life, because that's on my consciousness too.
Oh, boy.
I'm beginning to notice that. And if you look at what's going on in society, I think we are churning that kind of stuff, because I think we losing touch with the idea that which I'm pushing against, I'm contributing just as much energy as that person that is pulling it. Yeah. No matter, anyway, wherever my attention goes, that's where the energy flows. So if it goes towards how bad things are, I'm getting more of that. If I go towards just trying to maintain the peace, I begin to notice how wonderful it is to just meditate and be still sometime and be quiet, because taking my energy from that getting upset and angry, I had a tendency to kind of look at my nieces and nephew who are now adults. I mean, me being 80 and them being 60, they think they know it. And they patting the old person on the shoulder. And I said, I can remember when I was like this too. I look at them, but I find myself, okay, I've had enough of this. I would have to separate myself from them for that reason. So I'm noticing how important it is to realize to stay in that consciousness of joy, of harmony, of peace. How much it is for me to immerse myself in this type, to be able to sit and be quiet and be meditative at times. How to allow the people to be where they are and not try to fix them, because I know it's better for them. To release the idea of being attached to things. I'm learning that more and more, just to be in the joy and the peace of life. And that the other things, that I have enough good in my Storytime is, what is that? What she said, you got enough good. I got enough good in my vortex. If I could just stay peaceful and harmonious, I would be flowing with the abundance of the universe. Oh yeah. Oh gosh, thank you. I'm no. It's a small group tonight, but we're glad that y'all joined us on this because it is 7:56. So I guess I'm getting ready to. Is that right? Yeah. To earn. Is anything else anybody wants to join, because we're going to be closing, and I'm going to do a closing treatment. Anything else that you want to?
I would like to say I certainly appreciate being reminded about bloated nothingness.
Oh, okay. Thank y'all. I mean, it seemed to me that I just love talking about spirit. So this is 4 of us, and I would say that if you are interested in venturing into it, come and join us, because the first Wednesday and the last Wednesday we have these discussion groups. The fourth?
It's the fourth. It's
The fourth Wednesday and the first one, right?
Yeah, not
Okay.
the last.
Okay.
Not the 5th. If we have a 5th Wednesday,
Yes,
it's
yes, the
drubbing.
fourth and the first and the fourth. So thank you for joining us, and we hope that you will join us for our next gathering. And as always, we pick a topic from homes right now, and we almost to the end of this book. Oh yeah, and so it has a joy. And I want to say that do a closing treatment and welcome each one of you to join us on Sunday as our services at 9 and at 10:30, and we always welcome here. So let's just center ourselves in the idea that we really appreciate knowing that the infinite intelligence of the universe is absolutely everywhere at all times. It is fulfilling the thoughts, the understanding, and awareness that we place into the law of being. And this idea and this understanding gives us the freedom to step into our greater good and to be able to know and understand that there is nothing to earn, just to receive and accept and to give. And as we willingly know the truth of who we are, that concept becomes something that we can fully embrace with all our hearts and minds. And so as we know that we go forth from this experience, appreciate the idea that we are the ways and means for life to unfold and reveal itself in its many ways of being. And that each and every individual has a special uniqueness that they can offer spirit itself. And so as we go forth, we are willingly to offer it in the atmosphere of love, of harmony, and compassion. And so it's with joy and appreciation that we say thank you. And with love and joy, we say bless you, as we say together.
And
so it is. Thank you. And good night.